Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Shellie Geigle with J&S Hobbies and Crafts, and today's tutorial is on this really easy Mintay Nightfall folio I created. This only takes one paper pack. In fact, it is the same design as the Fall Festival. So if you got Fall Festival paper, this is the same exact design as what I used here. So this measures about 6.5 by 8.25 with about a 1-inch spine on this. And this is a lot of fun to make. I love these purples, and I love the moon phases and everything in this. So if you are somebody who likes those colors and the moon phases and just what the theme is, this one's for you. So we open this up to start, and then this rolls over. This, you can place a photo right here if you wish to do it. And then this folds out. Right here is a great place to plant a photograph. I'm going to move some stuff to the side so we can get through this. I'm trying to get it all into screen here, but that's what it looks like all laid out. Really pretty. Let's start over here. Over here we have a little folder. And this is just a tuck, and I put one of the cut-aparts in there for now, but you can place a photograph in there too. Over here is a side pocket, and I have a couple picture mats. Over here, up front, is tuck areas, and I just created a little folder. I don't have anything in here. I will have to put some solid colored cardstock, as I used all the leftovers from doing this tutorial on making these picture mats. So this is where I would have to put solid colored cardstock if you do folders extra. And then this flips out, and great place right here for photographs. And then this is a large generous pocket, and I have some mats in there. So I was able to get quite a few mats out of this. And then this flips out. And lots of places for photographs. This is a little tuck area. Over here, this is a pocket, and I have some picture mats, and I just have one of these little cut-aparts. And then this folds out. Photographs here, photographs here, photographs over here, and here is a pocket. I got some picture mats in there. And then this folds out. More places for photographs. Over here we have a tuck. And then we have another pocket, and I have some picture mats in there. Holds quite a bit of photographs. It really does. And then this opens up, and more places for photographs, photographs. So it holds just a lot. So I hope you like this design, and I hope you join me with making this. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, if the content I'm showing you is something that you like. Also, please comment below the video to let me know what you think about all this. Okay, let's move on into the materials list. And there's not a whole lot to this. Materials list. So first thing that we're going to want is 1 pack of the Mintay Nightfall 12 by 12 paper pack. And that's all we're going to need for this. Just 1 pack. 2 sheets of 12 by 12 cardstock. And this is black. Now I'm also going to be using some 8.5 by 11. I'm short on 12 by 12 paper. I do have some more American Craft. They are coming in finally. But I am going to be using the 8.5 by 11 basil cardstock for all the fold outs and pockets and all that good stuff. For my glue, I'm going to be using Art Glitter Dries Clear Glue, and you will want to get the little metal tip that goes with that. Magnets, I'm only going to need 4 magnets for this project, and what I'm using is the basic gray. So I've got 2 plus and 2 minuses left over from another project, so I'm going to use that. We're going to use 1/4 inch score tape. And last thing, and this is optional, is to use either a 1/2 inch punch or a 5/8 inch punch. And I'm going to be using this. And this is called the Floral Vine, but you can use any one that you have so long as it's a 1/2 inch or 5/8. You don't want to use the large punches. The trim will be too wide. And again, if you don't have one of these or you don't want to get one of these, you don't have to. We add the trim after we actually construct pockets and all that good stuff. Equipment you're going to need a paper cutter, you're going to need a scoring board, you'll want a ruler, your scissor, scoring tool or bone folder, pencil with an eraser, and a craft knife is always handy. Okay, let's get going on putting this together. This is a real easy one. We're going to assemble the base and we're going to go over our pre-cuts. So first thing we had was an 8 1/4 by 12 inch piece. We had an 8 1/4 by 11 3/8 inch piece. And then optional was a 1 1/4 by 8 1/4. We called that a trim. Now this, like I said, optional. And it said in the notes to go ahead and punch it. If you're not doing any trim, then you wouldn't have to worry about this. So we're going to start off with our base sheets and we're going to seam them together. So on the left side you will have your 8 1/4 by 12 inch, and then this one is going to overlap here. So we're going to need our 1/4 inch score tape. I'm going to move the 11 3/8 long one out of the way. So we're just working with the one that is 12 inches long, and we are going to place it right along the edge without going over. And then we will burnish that. I want to try and seam these straight. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set these off to the side. I'm going to grab my paper cutter, and all I'm going to have this for is for the guide. So the first one I'm going to lay down is this one, the one that is 12 inches wide. And this is where the craft knife comes in handy here to get this little backing off. And I'm just going to push that right up against the paper guide there to keep me straight. Next, I have the 11 3/8 wide. I'll just slip that under there, and I'm going to use the paper guide once again to keep me straight. So I'm just going to overlap enough to cover that score tape. That just helps me to keep this pretty straight. If you want to do it without the paper guide, you go right on ahead. Let's grab our scoring board, because now we're going to score it. It doesn't matter if your scoring starts with your 0 here or over here. If your 0 starts over here, you're going to have 11 3/8 that sheet down. If your 0 starts here, you're going to flip this around so that 11 3/8 part is over here. I hope that made sense. So that we make sure when we're scoring that we don't score on the seam. We can be right next to it, but not on it. So again, if your scoring board starts 0 here, you're going to have your 11 3/8 piece down like that. If you start with the 0 here, you're not going to use this one. You're going to flip it around so that you have your 11 3/8 starting here. All right, let's begin. And you're going to need your ruler and your pencil for this as well. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to 4 1/2 and we're going to score. We're going to go to 5 and we're going to score. Come over to 11 1/2, which will put us right on the other side of your seam, and we're going to score. Okay, So now this is where the ruler comes in. You see where we scored at 11.5? What we're going to do is now measure to the left, or you, if you're starting over here, measure to the right. But we're going to be 1 inch away. So here's my 11.5 inch score line. I'm going to measure out 1 inch. Okay, so I've measured over 1 inch from that score line. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that pencil mark and line it up with my notch, and I'm going to score. Now, what you're going to want to do, I'm going to turn my ruler upside down. Here was my 1 inch. I have the 1 inch on that line. I'm going to move on over to 7.5. So we have this score line, this one. That was the one right here score line that was 11.5. And then I said we're going to measure over 1 inch and we'll score. We'll put your ruler down so the 1 matches up with the line you just scored. This is the easiest way. So 1 inch is lined up there. We're going to come over to 7.5 inches on our ruler. We're going to make a pencil mark. We're going to move over to 8 5/8, and we're going to make a pencil mark. So now we're going to grab our scoring tool. We're going to line up those marks on the board anywhere you want. Just line them up. And we'll score again. So once you have that, we're going to fold, and when you fold, just make sure that these line up straight with there. And we can erase any pencil marks we just made. So we'll just keep folding. And if you've done it right, your seam is going to be just on the other side of that one. And then we'll fold again. And then it looks like we got 2 down here. And then we have another one. Okay, so when you're done, you're going to have a shorter side over here. If you were just to fold that in and fold it in again, and here's your shorter side over here. So fold it all in to where that short side's over here. And what you're going to write is put front closure on that little tab that comes over. We're going to write front on this side. Now, while it's still there, we can lightly put outside spine. My writing is horrible. We'll just rotate it over here. We're going to put back, outside, back. You're not going to hurt your piece none by making it go down, by the way, to help you. And then over here, outside spine. Okay. The shorter piece is always going to be off to your right. Okay? So if you start scoring from that side, if you need to flip yours around to make it and you look upside down, that's fine. You can erase all these measurements if you'd like, but I'm just going to do that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to just open this until we see that little flap. So there's that flap. Okay, and this is going to be called outside panel. Now I'm going to open this up. Right over here, we're going to put P1. That's panel 1. We have 2 score lines in between. We're going to put inside, and you can just put inside spine, so we know that's on the inside. This next big one, P2 for panel 2. We have 2 score lines. It's inside, and I'm writing in between them, spine. This is P3 for panel 3. This is outside, or excuse me, inside spine. That's why we label these. Can get confusing. And then over here would be P4 for panel 4. So again, we'll fold that in. We should see that, that, and that. If you use the trim, what you're going to do is we're going to apply glue right here, and we are going to place that right there. If you do not have trim, that's fine. So I'm going to erase any pencil marks just in case. I'm going to get some glue on this. Make sure that's straight. That looks pretty straight to me. Flip this over so where you can see P4 and you'll still see your front. This is where our magnets come in. And we're going to grab a couple pluses here. And the first plus, we're going to come in from your edge. Now if you're using the trim, it would be you would come in from under your trim about an inch in up here, and then the second one is down here. Let's grab the mates, and we'll just place one there, and we'll place one here. Now I'm going to show you first before we do this. So we have this all like this, and it's closed in. What the key is, you can see where we have that spacing here. Okay? We're looking at this corner right here. What we're going to do with that little corner is we're going to tuck it right in to here. So you see what I'm doing? So that this corner tucks right into here, and it's even with the top. And then what we're going to do is we'll have that, the backing off that, and then it'll be easy to line this up. So we'll do this together. I'm going to bring it up. Hopefully I get mine on straight by bringing it up. So again, here's our front right here. I'm going to place it right in that corner, make sure it's lined up, make sure the top is lined up. I'm going to pinch and hold that, and then I can press. Okay? And then I'll just shimmy that off. Now the second one's pretty easy because this one's going to grab this one. But what I'm going to do is rotate it because it's easier for me to see. So the corner up here is going to tuck in the corner right here. I'm going to pinch it there. I'm going to keep my finger kind of in there so it doesn't grab quite yet. The bottom's going to grab first. Now you should line up and just be able to press. Let's see. So you should look like that. I hope that made sense. Our base is complete. We are now moving on to decorating the outside. We're on to decorating the outside. We had one pre-cut, and that was just a 3 1/8 by 4 1/16, and we called it a front mat. So we'll just set that off to the side. There's no scoring on that. And first thing I want us to do is get this out of our paper pack. And let's go ahead and trim off that trim piece really quick. The little trim piece you can just throw in the garbage. We don't need those. So this is the print we want. The first thing we're going to do is place this on our paper cutter. We have the frame up here. That's the one we want to get to, but we're going to cut straight on down. I'm going to grab my paper cutter really quick. So normally it looks like this. We're after this, but we want to do a certain cut. So we're just going to place that in there. My blade is right here, And we're going to make a nice cut, straight line. Oops, let me see. Yep, got that. This piece right here we will put in our reserves. The next thing we're going to do is put this on our paper cutter. And we'll just cut down right, whoops, we'll cut down right here and right here on the, to divide these. And I will get this one. So these leftover pieces we're going to place in what I call a reserve pile. It's our scrap pile. But I do call them reserves because we're reserving to use it at a different time in the tutorial. So this is the piece that we have. Let's grab our front mat. All we're going to do is we're going to place glue on this side and we are going to center it right on in there. And that should give us a black frame all the way around. I do need to trim this a little more. I still have a little bit of the other on there. So there we go. So we'll get that glued down. And you'll want to burnish after every time you use score tape or even glue. Just make sure you spread that glue around and it makes a good contact with your paper. And clean up any glue that squirts out the side. We will set this off to the side. We are going to do some cuts here. And on our next piece, in your paper pack, you will find this print. Has a little record player down there. If we flip it over, it has this. First thing we're going to do is just cut off this trim piece with our paper cutter. I got my little trim piece off. What I'd like us to do, and this is how I teach, so that I'm not having you cut up, down, all around, but I always start over to the left to stay consistent, and I'll say measure over this way and cut. Sometimes though I need to get a special cutoff here, so I'm going to have you turn your paper sideways and then we measure over from this end like this. But I'll always tell you this over unless we're cutting like out little panels, and then we can just cut the way I tell us to do. So we have this print. We are going to turn it sideways. The record player should be sitting up here. Measure over 8 1/8 and cut. So now I'm going to do some cuts with you just to make sure you understand. I'm going to get this to 8 1/8 and then I'm going to cut. So this piece right here we're going to put in our reserves for right now. Now we have this piece. I want you to rotate this upside down. All this pretty stuff is down here. Measure over 6 1/4 inches and cut. 6 1/4. This piece over here, put in your reserves. We're going to grab our front. We'll open that up. Right here, if we apply glue to this and we place it down, we should be able to center that in there. So we'll have some black here. We'll have a slight black and black down here. So to make this easier, I am going to push this over so that it lays flat for me. Let's apply our glue. Okay, once again, front, pushing all that back, lay flat. And then I'm going to burnish. And be careful of your magnets too so that you don't gouge it with your tool. So propping this back the way it should look, that's what we have. Grab this piece out of your reserves. And I'm not sure which way I have it going here, but I have it where the rose is down here, and it looks like I have it upside down. That looks on the back. We're going to look at it like this. So the rose is back down here. Measure over 2 7/8 and cut. I'm going to grab my cutter, 2 7/8, this piece here we're going to put in our reserves. With this piece, looking at it the correct way, we're going to apply glue, and on the front closure we're going to glue that down and make sure we're centered with the black frame all the way around. For me, I'm just going to open that up so it will lay flat for me. Okay, let's take a look. It looks pretty good. Let's grab our frame. So if you don't have any trim, you'll notice that your middle point is slightly off-centered, which will look really good. The key to this is having it centered. So if you have this, the trim, you'll still want to center this piece no matter what in the middle. This is where I like to take a pencil and lightly mark a line that I can erase. So once you have it centered in there, draw your line so you know where this goes. And let's grab some scratch piece of cardstock. I'm going to use white so that you can see better, and I'm going to slide that under this so that in case any glue seeps out, it gets on that. So we're only going to need half of this glued. So I'm going to just place that somewhere in the center there. I know glue goes here. I'm just going to kind of measure how much I need. And I'm going to come over here. Now if you have the trim, you'll want to put just lightly some here. Okay, so that it will stick on there. And you can wipe up any glue. So I hope that's pretty centered for me. I'm going to move this so I can see a little bit better, and that looks good. Okay, now that I have it there, I'm going to open this up and I'm going to press. And then I'm going to burnish. Now notice I have some glue seeping through, and I want to make sure that I get that up so that this side has no glue on it. So that is what we have so far. In your paper pack you will find this, and we're going to get after this piece right here. So one thing I want to say is when you're cutting off this is the back side of your cover, try not to detach anything else. So like for this, for me, I'm just going to kind of weave in and around, trying not to clip off this piece. If I do clip it off, I'm going to set it off to the side because I lose things in my scrap pile sometimes, and it's hard to find it. So I'm just going to weave around this. So this whole piece right now, we're going to put back in our reserves. I want to cut out and around this. Now it's going to be very hard to cut out and around without clipping these off. It's just going to be too weak, I think. I'm going to try my best. So let me cut out and around mine, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. This is what mine looks like. I'm going to hold it up here. If you'd like to pause the video now to get yours cut out, and then we can resume together. If you've already done that and you're ready to go, we can get this going. We're going to glue this down. So we're going to pull this out and we're going to add glue. Okay. So I'm going to make sure that these don't hang over the edge. I'm just going to kind of put that at an angle there. I'm going to put my hand back behind so I can get this started, and then I'll just flop this down so I can carefully burnish my pieces and get up any glue that might seep out. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at what this looks like, and then if yours flattens out like this, you just got to push it back, and once this is everything on the inside is in there at the very end, it'll match up nicely for you. So that's what we have. We're now going to cut for the outside spine. You should have this piece in your reserves. Which way do we want to go? Well, we better look at it, the roses up here. We're going to measure over 7/8 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. And I think I got that correct, 7/8. We're going to apply glue to this. Well, first, make sure you have a good cut. Just kind of rotate this. This one for 7/8 should fit right in here. If you need to trim down the sides a little, do so, but we're going to glue that right on down. Okay, once I have that down, that's where I can push back on this and burnish. Okay, let's flip this way. We're now going to get it for this side. Let's grab this. We'll look at it with the rose up here, measure over 1 inch, and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. We'll use this side. This one goes in our reserves. We're going to apply glue, and we're going to glue that one right there. This is such pretty paper. I love purples. And I like the theme. Now I'm going to open this up and burnish. Okay, close her up, flip her over. Let's get our piece for right there. In your paper pack, you will have this with all the beautiful moons, and on the back, it looks like this. Let's trim off that trim piece first. Okay, I'm ready to go here. Looking at it like this, where it's correct way, we are going to rotate it this way. Measure over 8 1/8 and cut. Once you have that, this piece that falls off, generally when you're cutting your paper, just so you know, the piece that falls off, that goes in your reserve pile, your scrap pile, unless I tell you to keep it out. Now we'll look at it the correct way. Your rose is over here. I'm pretty sure this is correct. The lanterns are positioned where they should be. Measure over 6 3/8 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you have. Verify your cut was good by just laying this down. You should have a black border all the way around if you center that. We're going to glue that down. Okay, I'm going to get this centered on here, and then I'll probably open this up so I can burnish it down. That looks pretty good. And now we're going to burnish. So a lot of beautiful colors on this. It looks so nice. Okay, let's take a look at this. That looks really good to me. We are done with decorating the outside. We're now going to be moving on to the outside panel. We're working on this outside panel as well as this piece right here. In your reserves, you will find this print. On the back, it looks like this. We're going to need 2 cuts. We'll start with the first one. We're going to look at it like this. We're going to measure over 3/8 and cut. After making that cut, you will have a thin piece. We'll start right here. If you were just to push this down, we will be able to fit that right in there, giving us a little black border on each side and the top and bottom. So let's get that down. This is a quick and easy. There we go. I think that's fairly straight. Okay, I'm going to push back so all I see is this panel. Looking at it like this, measure over 4 1/4 and cut. This is what we should have. If we apply glue and lay that down, that will give us a black border, a little bit on the top and bottom, and we'll center it in there so we have a black border on each side, and we'll glue that down. Our panel is complete. We are now moving on to P1, panel 1. We're on panel 1, P1, and we have some pre-cuts. The first one is a 3 3/4 by 9 1/8. And the first thing we did was lay this on our scoring board, so we are 3 3/4 across, and we scored at a 1/2 inch. Next, the instructions said to rotate this and score at a 1/2 inch and 8 5/8. We called this our pocket. Next, we had a 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, and we just called that a folder. We laid this on our scoring board, so we were 6 1/4 across. We scored at 3 1/8. And we can go ahead and fold on that score line, and we'll set that off to the side. The last one was the optional trim, and that was 1 1/4 by 8 1/8, and it said to go ahead and punch, and we'll set that off to the side. On this page, we'll be conserving some paper. What we're first going to get after is our pocket, and we'll need our scissors. You have 2 score lines coming down the side and 1 across the bottom. If you notice, down in the bottom, it makes a square. Let's cut out those squares on each side, and then we're going to fold on those score lines. I'm going to move this out of the way so you can see just a little bit better. So we're just folding towards us here. So what you're going to want to do if you are new to this is you're going to fold in your sides and the flap is down. And these sides are kind of your marker for how far over the glue should go. So I just usually put it just down in the corner without the glue going past those flaps. And then once you have that, fold in those flaps and fold up the bottom. And then you'll use your tool to make sure you burnish that glue down really good. So there is that. The next thing is we're going to grab our trim and we're going to apply glue at this bottom portion. If you don't have trim, that's okay. And we're just going to place that. Okay, so how this goes is if I rotate this over, here is the bottom. The little flap is always the bottom. So I want to have it to where my opening is here. Right here, the opening. So that's always the opening, in case you're new. We're going to slide this right in between. Right in there. If you need to trim off a little more off yours, go ahead. But all we're doing is we're bringing our trim back behind the flaps, like that. And then I'm going to make sure that this is pretty straight. And once I have that behind there, maneuvered pretty straight, I'll just burnish that down. Okay, so when we place this, we'll get some decorated paper down, but letting you know the opening is going to be this way, not this way. Let's get our paper. In your reserves, you will find this print. On the back, it is this. We're going to look at it like this. The little record player is up here. We're going to measure over 8 1/8 and cut. Put this in your reserves. Next, we're going to rotate it to where the wine bottle's here, the wine glasses are up here. Measure over 2 inches and cut. So this is what we should have. We're going to apply glue to this side, and we're going to glue this over there, leaving a little black border. I'm going to bring this down again so you can see what I'm talking about. And I'll show you again as I do this. So P1 all the way over, leaving a black border over here, centering it top and bottom. Clean up any glue. And now comes for this. Let's get glue on those little flaps. And again, the opening is here. See your score line right here? We want to place this down, but leave at least a 1/16 or an 1/8 away from that. There we go. I think that's pretty good right there. And we will burnish. Okay, we need to get paper for right here. And in your reserves, you will have this piece. Measure over 8 1/8 and cut. we're going to turn it like this. Measure over 3 1/8 and cut. Let's apply glue to this side and glue that down right on that panel. So you should be, if you don't have trim, you're going to leave a little bit of a black border over on this side. Now all we need is our 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 folder, and our opening is going to be off to the right. In your reserves, you will have this. It's a panel on the back. It looks like this. We're going to apply glue to this side, and we're going to center it on this as best we can. You'll have a little more black up here and down here, and that's just fine. Okay, so we're going to place this down, but we want to make sure that this is a tuck. So what I'm going to do is my opening again is on this side, but I'm going to grab this whole piece and rotate it over. We're going to put glue along the bottom, and we're going to go up about halfway up this side. This is a good time to grab some scratch cardstock and place it right in your pocket. And we're going to maneuver this at an angle. Now, if you don't have the trim, of course, you're going to bring yours over a little bit more. But that is what this is for, to catch any glue in case too much. So. And that will catch any of that glue. In your reserves, you will have these two pieces. And they should be exactly the same. Just about any way you do it. So look, let's place it to where the record player is sideways. Let's put the moon there. We're going to double these up. Measure over 2 7/8 and cut. Okay, we'll flip that over and we will center it right on that side. This one, you have a choice. You can use that side. I'm going to have the moons over here. And we're going to glue those down, just like that. We'll give this a good burnish. Make sure there's no glue going off the edge, otherwise you'll glue your folder down there. And this will relax over time. The biggest thing is that this can now slide a photograph back behind. This is too wide, of course. This would be for a bigger photo, but normal size photos, you can get that back behind and tuck that in there, back behind there. Okay, panel 1 is complete. Really quick, let's finish up by putting something right over that inside spine area. And you should have a long piece like this. Measure over 3/8 and cut. And I think I'll use where the wood grain is up. I think that'll look pretty good. And when you place that, do not get on your score lines. This places right in between. Alrighty, we are now on panel 2, P2. We are on panel 2 and we have some pre-cuts. So let's go over it. We had a 6 by 8 1/4 and we called that a right fold out. We placed this on our scoring board. We are 6 inches across. We scored at 1/2 and 3/4. Next, we had some optional trim that was 1 1/4 by 8 1/4. And that was optional. We had a 6 3/8 by 8 1/4. We called this a left fold out. What we ended up doing is putting this 6 3/8 across. We scored at 1/2 and 5/8. Left fold out. We then had a 4 by 6 5/8, and we called this our left fold out pocket. FO is fold out. We placed this on our scoring board, so we were 4 inches across. We scored at 1/2. Then we turned this so that we are 6 5/8 across. We scored at 1/2 and 6 1/8. We also had an optional trim for 1 1/4 by 5 5/8 pocket trim. Alrighty, let's begin. We're going to find our decorative paper first. In your paper pack, you will have this print. It's beautiful with that turquoisey blues and the moons. And then on the other side, it's the flower. Let's remove the trim. Alrighty, we're going to turn this so that you have part of this moon down here and this moon over here. We're going to measure over 8 1/8 and cut. Now that we have this moon up here, measure over 6 1/4 and cut. I'm going to move this out of the way really quick. And we're going to first start off with our left fold out. Let's fold on our score lines. Alright, we'll have a hinge off to the left. Now this is going to be about 1/8 inch longer than this. And what we're going to do is just center it evenly. The idea of this is 8 1/4 is how tall your folio is. So I want to make sure that this gets at the top and this in the bottom. It just helps on the top edge of the folio to be a little more stiffer, durable. So back to this. You have 2 score lines. The outside score line, we're going to pinch on it. So you will still be able to see your other score line. We're going to slip this back behind. And then, like I said, look at it. Make sure you have a little overhang of black there and a little overhang down here. And then you know that you have this accurately on. So we're going to pinch and flip it over. And I like to keep my hand down so that this doesn't move around. And we're going to apply a little glue on this. Whoops, I got a little crazy. And we will burnish. Okay, I'm going to immediately open this up, make sure I don't have any glue seeping out there, and I don't. So now I'm going to fold back on that other score line, and I am going to push. So you'll have a little overhang up here of your fold out and a little down there. The next one is we're going to grab our right fold out. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to fold on those score lines. And the hinge is off to the right. So on the outside score line, let's pinch and crease. And we're going to hook this back behind. And all we have to do is line up with our other one to make sure that we're the same. And that should give us the same overhang there. So I look pretty good right there. So I'm going to pinch and flip this over, and I'm going to glue down this panel, or this fold out. Okay. And then I want to open it up. I got a little close to my hinge there, and I'm going to wipe up any glue that I see. I was okay over there. Okay, first things first, let's go ahead and find our paper for this side. In your reserves, let's grab this back out. Looking at it like this, measure over 5 inches and cut. We're going to apply glue. You have a choice. You can have this side up, kind of centered in there, and that will leave you a black border before you hit that score line there. And a black border over here. I am going to go with the moon side up, and it kind of looks like it's a continuation there. I'm going to glue this down. That looks pretty good. So I'm just going to burnish away and get this all down. We're going to get for this side. In your paper pack, you have another one of these. Let's take off the trim piece. Once again, we're going to turn it sideways. The moon down here, and then the moon down here. Measure over 8 1/8 and cut. Now measure over 5 3/8 and cut. This should fit in there, giving you the same black border on either side, and will fit top and bottom. Let's get that down. Now on this side of the panel, we're going to have up in the corner like a little tuck pocket, so you can tuck your photo up in there. Let's grab this back out of our reserves, and let's see, we can have a tuck down here or up here. Wow, this is so hard to choose. Let's go for up here. Let's grab this flower. All we need to do is to cut out and around this, and then I'll show you what we'll do. We do need to back this, and if you're new, then I will let you know as soon as I'm done cutting mine out and showing you what it looks like. I finished mine, and I did leave a little white outline there. You don't have to, I just did it. Now let's grab some of our black cardstock. We're going to apply glue to this, and we're going to glue it down. Then we're going to cut out and around this, leaving a little bit of a black border. I will show you mine as soon as I'm done, if you are unsure what that's supposed to look like. I have mine done, and I'm going to hold it up here for a minute. You can see the little black outline, not real thick, and I just did the best I can. We're going to apply glue. I'm going to turn this over so the big rose is up here. And what's going to happen is I'm going to glue down the corner of under here, here, under this one, here, and here. So I'm just going to get some glue, the tips there, to hopefully get that done and see how that does. I'm going to give a little bend. Maybe that'll help me a little. But I think, there we go. And I think just a little bit underneath the tip of this one will be fine too. Let me grab a photograph and see how this works. I have one here handy. Here we go. So you can stick right up here. I didn't put glue underneath that one, so that I think it's going to be just fine. Just make sure these tips are down over here, and then leave that one alone. If you got glue under there, just wipe it off. But you see, it will hold pretty good, a photograph on a mat or whatever. Perfect. I think what we're going to do next is just fold this side in. Make sure your sides are nice there. And we're going to get our paper for this. In your paper pack, you will have this beautiful print. On the back, it is this. Let's take off that trim piece. Those of you that have that optional trim, you're going to need that too. So what we can do with that trim is add it now. And we'll add it to the top, and that should match up top and bottom with this fold out. Okay, so it goes on top. Flip this over and get this on. And where'd my scratch piece go? Right here. There. That looks like it's pretty straight. I'll get a burnish on this side and on this side. Okay, we're ready to cut our paper. We're going to, let's see what I want to do on this one. We're going to turn it sideways so that the little couch is over here, the record player. Measure over 8 1/8 and cut. This is what we should have. Measure over on this one 5 1/16. So if you're not sure about sixteenths, I do have a ruler. I do stick some black cardstock behind it because it's clear and it's easier to see. Here is on a regular ruler 5, and here's 5 1/8. It's the line in between there. If you have mine, it'll tell you exactly. So let's do that. This is what you should have. Let's apply glue, and we are going to glue that down, and we should be able to center that side to side, top to bottom, just leaving a little bit of a black border. I think there's a delivery at the door. I'm going to have to go check on the dogs. Something's triggering them just to alert me. Something's happening. Okay, so just a little bit of a border. Let's close that up. Now how this is going to work is this one's going to come in first, and then this one comes over because the spacing is wider over here. The spacing is less over here. So we'll work on this one. You have this in your reserves. It's the cutting from this. We'll turn it upside down so it's over here. Measure over 5 5/8 and cut. This is what you should have. We're going to apply glue, and we're going to glue that down, centering that top, bottom, side to side. I got that down. I'm just going to clean up some of the glue that seeped out. Next thing we need is our 4 by 6 5/8 left fold out FO pocket. So score lines come down the side, one across the bottom, and it makes that square. Let's cut out the squares. I got glue on me. Ooh, here and here. I guess it wasn't too much of an emergency. The dog settled down pretty quick. Maybe just somebody walking outside. So we're just folding on those again, the little flaps in. So here are my flaps. They're pulled in. My bottom one is down, and in the corner, just a little glue. We will fold that in and up. If you did the trim, so this is the bottom. If you did the trim, we're going to apply some glue and we're going to slide it right on in there. Now, if it's not fitting good, just take a little bit off. I'm going to take just a hair off mine there so it will fit. So the bottom of the pocket's down here. This slides in so that these are back behind. So once you know it fits, you can apply your glue if you're using trim. Again, all these trim pieces are optional. You do not have to have it. And get that on there pretty straight. That looks good. It's time to place our pocket. We're going to apply glue to this. We'll bring it down to the bottom of our panel. And we can also give it a little push in to give us more room in that pocket. There we go. And if you push in too far, you're going to see some of your paper over here. That's okay. When we cut our paper that go over this pocket, it'll extend over. It'll be okay. In your reserves, you will have this. They're still connected. On the back, it is this. We're going to turn it sideways so that the wine bottle's sideways. Measure over 3 3/8 and cut. This is what we should have. And what I would like us to do is turn this upside down. We're going to lop off a little bit over here. Measure over 5 5/8 and cut. That's what we have. If we first verify that we got a good cut here, and I think we do, we're going to apply glue. Now you can use this side up if you'd rather. I'm going to have this side up for a little more interesting print, pretty print. And that's going to give you a black little lip at the top. So let's take a look. That looks great. Let's grab our folio. So all we need to do is I'm going to be applying my score tape all the way around this like a picture frame. I'll go one down the middle and I think one on each side, and I can scribble in some glue in between. But when we place this, do not get confused of your little seam. Make sure you're aware of where that hinge is right next to your inside spine. Before you remove your adhesive, place it down to make sure that you are good. Now when you do that, that's going to bring you right up next to that hinge. So if you'd like to use this to your advantage, I will show you what I'm going to do. So let's get this all ready to go. If you're not using score tape, just make sure you get glue all the way around and it's spread out. I like to use score tape a lot, so. Okay, I'm just finishing this up and I've burnished. So make sure you've got your spacing on the sides. And I'm going to show you an easy way to do this. I'm going to pull this side up so it kind of makes a little shelf there so I know where that score line is. I'm going to make sure I match up this and this with the top without going over. And I'm pulling this up so I know that I don't go over. Now glue is much easier to maneuver on a like doing that, but that's how I do it sometimes, depending on my moods. But I think that was a really easy one, especially if you're using glue to maneuver a little bit. But that is in. This should still come up and over very easily. This should still come up and over very easily. Oh, that looks good. Okay, panel 2 is complete. We are now moving on to P3, panel 3, and we'll get our little inside spine areas fixed up as well. We are on panel 3. We'll be done with this folio quickly. Let's go over our pre-cuts here. We have quite a few. We have a 5 1/4 by 8 1/4 top right fold out. And what we did on this is we laid this so we were 5 1/4 across. We scored at 1/2 and 3/4. Next, if you were doing the optional trim, we had 2 pieces that were 1 1/4 by 8 1/4. That was optional. We had a 5 7/8 by 8 1/4. We called this bottom left fold out. And what we did on this is we laid this on our scoring board. We are 5 7/8 across. We scored at 1/2 and 3/4. Next, we had a 6 1/8 by 8 1/4. We called it a bottom right fold out. We laid this on our scoring board, so we are 6 1/8 across. We scored at 1/2 and 5/8. We had a 3 3/4 by 9 1/4 bottom right FO pocket. So bottom right fold out pocket. We placed this on our scoring board. We are 3 3/4 across. We scored it at 1/2. We then turned this, so now we are 9 1/4 across. We scored at 1/2 and 8 3/4. Next, we had a 6 by 8 1/4. We called it a top left fold out. And what we did on this one, we laid it on our scoring board, so we are 6 inches across. We scored it at 1/2 and 5/8. So right now I'm kind of putting 2 piles together, all my left side fold outs in a pile, all my right side fold outs are in a pile. We have a 4 1/2 by 6 inch. We called it a bottom left FO pocket. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 4 1/2 inches across. We scored it at 1/2. We turned it. We are now 6 inches across. We scored it at 1/2 and 5 1/2. Last one, 3 3/4 by 5 1/2. This is our top right fold out pocket. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 3 3/4 across. We scored it at 1/2. We then turned it. We are 5 1/2 inches across. We scored at 1/2 and 5 inches. Alrighty, so I have my little fold outs. I'm putting all the ones that say right together. And I'll put a trim with one of those, just so I can keep myself a little organized here. And then I have all my left stuff here. Let's begin by finding our paper. In your paper pack, you will find this gorgeous print, and on the back, it is this. Let's take off that trim piece. So we're going to look at it sideways where it's like this. So my flowers are this way. Measure over 8 1/8 and cut. This is what you should have. Measure over 6 1/4 inches and cut. We're going to use this as our base page. We're going to need our right fold out, and I'm going to find the correct one. You're going to want what's called your 6 1/8 by 8 1/4 bottom right fold out. Let's fold on those score lines. I have mine creased. So if you are an experienced mini album maker or folio maker and you're used to working with fold outs, do not jump ahead. We will be wrapping on to our base page, but the other fold outs are stackable, meaning we're going to stack them on top rather than that. So let's stay together as a group. On the outside score line, we're going to pinch and crease, and we're going to hook it on. Now this is the same idea that we did on the previous panel, where you're going to have about a 1/16 of overhang top and bottom. So once you have it in spot, we're going to flip it over and glue this down. And I can see I'm just a little bit off there. There we go. Perfect. And I guess I will check in here, make sure, and then I'm going to fold back against the other one and push in. Now the next one that we are going to attach is the left bottom fold out. Now this is 5 7/8 by 8 1/4. So we're going to fold on those score lines. So hinge off to the left, and we have that outside score line. We will pinch, and we will slide it and match up with our other one as best we can. There we go. And we will glue this down. Okay, now I'm going to fold back. Make sure these are lined up pretty good, and they are. So we're going to begin with opening this up, and then we will get our other stuff attached. In your reserves, you have this piece already. It is the cuttings from this. And what we're going to do is, looking at it like this, we're going to measure over 5 1/4 and cut. This is what you should have. We're going to apply glue to this side, and we're going to place that right on in there. And you should have a black border here, 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 and here. Have that one down. Next, in your paper pack, you have another one of these. Let's take off that trim piece. We're going to do the same thing we've done before by turning it sideways, measuring over 8 1/8 and cut. Next, measure over 4 7/8 and cut. We'll apply glue to this side, and we will place that right on over there. If you'd rather do it like this, you can. I'm going to have the purple and the blue right there, and I think that'll look really good. Break up some of the flowers instead of doing. Now if you'd rather have that side up, go right on ahead. Okay, we're going to fold in this right one here, and we're going to work on this. Grab your 5 1/4 by 8 1/4 top right fold out. We're going to fold on those score lines. Our hinge is going to be off to the right. Now on your outside score line, we are going to pinch and crease it. The difference with this one is we're going to apply glue to this, and we'll make sure that this is in the correct position. And this is just going to lay right on top. You'll still be able to see your other score line because we're just compressing this down. So I'm going to get this on. So it's tucked back behind. We're using glue, and we will match it up with the side of that and the bottom. And I'm just going to carefully open that up and burnish. We're going to work on this really quick. Let's grab our 3 3/4 by 9 1/4 bottom right fold out pocket. Excuse me. Let's grab our scissors. What have I done with mine? Oh, craziness. Where is it? Well, I have another pair here. My other one, probably when I got up to get the phone, I took it with me. So, this is the one we are working with. Let's cut out the squares in each little corner. These are my cruddy scissors, I can tell you that. They're not as sharp anymore, and anyway, they'll work. Folding in, and we're going to create that pocket. And we're going to get down in the corners there and just do like we have been with the pockets. Fold that in. Alright, we're going to find paper first, and then what we're going to do is we are going to lay this down, and that'll give us a nice side pocket. In your reserves, you will find one of these. Measure over 8 1/8 and cut. I am going to pull this down now. What we're going to want to do with this is we're going to apply glue to this side, and we're looking at our bottom right fold out. Our flap is our other one is over there. We're going to place this down and glue it down, centering it top and bottom and giving yourself a little bit of a black lip there. This is a very easy page. There's just a lot of different pre-cuts, so it might seem a little confusing. Okay, with this, our opening is here, so we'll just rotate that over, and we're going to get this down. There is something I want to add to panel 2 when we get this all done. Okay, you can see where your inside score line is of this fold out. You're going to bring it until it is about 1/8 inch away from that, and just match it up top and bottom with your paper. And you can press in a little bit to give it more room for that pocket. Alright, we're going to get our paper for that. And I think I would like to get some of this in there. Boy, that looked really pretty. I am looking at this piece. The moon's over here. I'm going to rotate this, and we have a bunch of flowers and everything over here. And I think that that would work really nicely with that. Totally. So we'll look at it like this. We're going to measure over 8 1/8 and cut. This is what you should have. We're going to look at it like this. We're going to measure over 3 1/8 and cut. We're going to apply glue, and we're going to glue that down, and we are going to leave ourselves a little black lip here for that pocket. If you'd rather have this purple side up instead, do so. Alright, we're going to get out this. Now, first thing is I've already cut this out. Cut out your moon, and I want you to mount it to some black cardstock and cut out a round. That's one piece. The next piece that I would like you to grab is this one. We'll grab this. The next piece is this one. All right. So you know what to do with this. We're going to do the same things with this. We'll cut out in a round, then we're going to glue it down to some black cardstock and cut out and around that. And I will show you mine as soon as I am done. So all 3 of mine are done. Here's the moon. I showed that already. We have this. We're going to need that. And we have this. Now the moon and this are going to go for panel 2, and I'll tell you that in just a minute. This is going to be a little tuck area here. So We're going to rotate this over. We'll put a little glue here and a lot along the bottom. And then we'll just bring this down right here. So we can use that as a tuck. And this now. In your reserves, you will have this print on the back. It is this. Measure over 4 3/8 and cut. Now this should fit in this panel right here. You can have the floral side up, or you can have this. I'm going to have this side up to break up some of the busyness of the flowers. And that should give you enough room, about a 1/16 inch away from your outside and outside here before you hit your thing. If yours is just way too closer than a 1/16 to that outside score line, just trim it down a little. Mine seemed to fit perfectly. We're going to close this one up and work on this now. Now for this, we're going to do something a little bit different. You have this in your reserves. We're going to measure over 8 1/8 and cut. We're going to place this one down right here. We're going to have a larger gap over here. And I'm going to have the flower side up. So all I'm going to leave again away from the edge is about 1/8 of an inch. Now in your reserves you should have this long skinny piece. We're going to use it. And we're just going to place it right like that with the cloud down here. And if you'd like me to tell you, this is approximately 3/4 inch wide by 8 1/8 long. So it's perfect. Use that up. And again, I'm going to come 1/8 inch away from the edge. You have a 3 3/4 by 5 1/2 top right fold out pocket. Let's go ahead and assemble this. Got glue on me again. Cutting out the corners, folding in the sides, folding up the bottom. Of course, applying glue first and getting it ready to go. I think you guys are pros by now if you're new. For this pocket, if you notice, it's going to fit all the way side to side. So over here, from the very far side to this side. Now, if yours seems a little longer, what you can do is just pucker it up a little bit to give you more room. But this is what I wanted to use. And get a little more stuff in there. Now you can fold back a little over there if you need to. But we're just going to burnish away. Okay, we do have some trim that we want to place, but we didn't place it yet. So we're going to do it over here on top, and then we're going to put something over here. If you're using trim. Almost forgot about this. And that's okay because it definitely doesn't hurt anything by just placing something over there. I just want to make sure it's fairly straight. Now, for over here in your reserves, you should have this piece, and I think I want to use that. It should be the same length as top and bottom, but we're going to place glue on this side, and we're going to put some of the flower detail over here. Okay, let's get to doing on there. In your reserves, you will find this piece. On the back, it is this. We're going to flip it around to where the moon's here and here. Measure over 4 3/8 and cut. This is what you should have. We're going to turn it sideways so the small moon is to our left. Measure over 3 1/8 and cut. Let's apply glue and glue that down. If you would rather have that up, you can. I want to bring some of that blue from over there over here. Let's grab this back out. let's get this one out. And what we're going to do is the same thing, I'm grabbing this, as we just did. We're going to cut out and around this, and this is fairly easy to cut out. Then what we're going to do is grab some black cardstock, some leftover, we'll glue it down, cut out and around, leaving a black border. And I'll show you mine when I'm done. So this is what mine looked like. It did not take that long. I want to put it here and create a tuck. So I'm just going to rotate this over, and I'll put a little glue here along the bottom, and I think that will work. I do want to get just right up under here, I think. Just in the corner a little. I'm going to grab a photograph, and you should be able to get right on in there. Little picture mat. That looks good. That side is done. This looks good. Let me take a look. That looks good. Fold this back over. I want to do something to tone down some of this a little bit. In your reserves, you will have this long skinny piece, and it's this on the back. We're going to apply glue and bring this all the way over to the right, and then we will have 2 strips, and I'll feel better about toning down some of the pink there. There, I like that much better. It just tones it down just a little bit. Okay, let's fold that over. We are now on to this side, and we need our top left fold out. So let's fold on those. Score line, whoops, I got glue all over me. And remember, we're going to have a hinge off to the left, but do you remember when we did the other one where on the outside score line we pinched, and then we applied the glue and we went right on top? That is what we're going to do with that. And then it gives a little height to these, a little more spacing. Okay. And matching up top and bottom, right like that. I'm going to open that up and then burnish. So we're working on this one right now. And this is the one that has a pocket. In your paper pack, you will have this. Now I want to get in some of these moons and colors. So let's take off the trim. And by the way, on the back, it looks like that. We're going to turn this sideways. So our little lanterns are here. Measure over 8 1/8 and cut. Now we are going to do 2 cuts here. I'm going to separate them out so it does not get confusing. Our first cut is going to be measuring over 5 1/8 and cut. So you want to bring this back. That was our leftovers after the cut. We'll apply glue to this, and we will center it right in there on that panel. Now let's grab this piece. It was the continuation from that. Measure over 4 7/8 and cut. Let's apply glue, and we're going to glue it down. And that should give you probably close to 1/8 of an inch, 1/16, or about 1/8 of an inch away from here and away from that score line. So we'll get that down. Let's grab our 4 1/2 by 6 bottom left fold out pocket. And we're going to assemble this like we've been, cutting out the squares, folding on the score lines, adding glue, and getting this ready. I have mine ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and add my glue now. The opening is at the top when we place this. So opening right here, and this one goes right over here. We're going to get our paper for this now. You have the cutting left over from that, and you can see a little bit of the green here, the little green lantern. Measure over 4 7/8 and cut. Now that you have this, let's measure over 3 7/8 and cut. All right, this is what you should have, and it should fit perfectly right here. But I'm going to add glue to this side and get a little texture. Doesn't that look good? Yeah, I think that looks really good. Let's close that up. If you used trim, this is where we want to add it. And we'll just put it here. Make sure I got that on pretty straight. That looks good. I'm going to burnish from this side. Okay. Now, just so you know, this one here that we did, we're going to fold that out, because how it does is this one goes first, then that, then this, and then this comes over the top. So we're going to get after here. In your paper pack, you will have this piece. Let's take off the trim piece. We're going to turn it sideways, measure over 8 1/8, and cut. Looking at your paper this way, measure over 5 1/8, and cut. Let's apply glue. Now you can have this side up if you'd like, and when it comes over it looks like this, or you can do that. And I'm going to go with this being up for me. It is up to you how you would like to do that. And I like it. Let's grab our piece right here. Now if you have any trim pieces that are left over, then just go ahead and keep those for something else. So here is our inside spine. You can see the score line here and the score line here. We're going to go ahead and put our score tape or glue, whichever you're using, and we're going to stick that right in between. Once again, you can grab this, pull it up, kind of make it a stair. Ain't going to hurt nothing. And just push this over and line it up top and bottom. And that'll be good. So I'm going to get mine on here, and then we'll come back to it. And I'll show you. I am ready to go. I'm going to push that up and make a stair. And make sure I'm lined up with the bottom. And I'm just going to place that. And then I'll open this all up until I get to the very back. Whoops. Till I get to the very back. And then I'm going to start burnishing. Okay, so let's take a look. And here's another way to know which way these go. If you go to the very back here, you'll notice there is smaller spacing here and a little bit wider here between these fold outs. That tells you the smaller goes first. And then this one's going to go over, and then this one's going to go over, and that one goes over the top. I like that. Take a look. That looks really good. Let's go back over here. We did the moon and this. I'm going to glue the moon right here. So I'm just going to, and it's going to make a little tuck. So let me show you. Come here, Tanner. So when this is glued down at your edge, now you don't have trim, that's fine. You can just bring it in. You're just going to get your glue right along the edge so that when you do place a photo, you can have the moon come up the top, or like this, or if you're doing it in the bottom, like that. So I know what I need to do. Here's the back. And for me, I'm bringing it over onto my trim, somewhere halfway in there. I'm going to make sure that I get up any glue back here that might want to seep over. So there's that. This now is going to go right down here. Now it's optional. If you don't want to use this here, you don't have to, but I'm going to create a tuck, another little tuck area. Glue right here and along the bottom. Just something different, you know. Let's tackle right here and here, and then also P4. We'll get that done too. In your reserves, you will have this long piece on the back. It looks like this. Okay, so for this, what I'd like to do is the first cut. Let's measure over 1 inch and cut. So this is what you should have. The one over here, let's see how this looks. That should fit perfectly right on in there. The other one, we may have to cut down. Now, if you'd rather have that side up, you can. There are no pre-cuts for panel 4. It's just going to be paper, so we'll roll right on into it. Now this piece is going to be too wide, so to get in here. So on this one, measure over 3/4 and cut. Now try it and see. It should fit comfortably right on in there, and mine does. So I'm going to get that down. And I'm going to give a good burnishing to the other one too. And if you see glue seeping out, definitely clean that up right away so you don't forget about it and have problems. I think that that looks wonderful. Let's move on to P4. Now for this, I want to pull some turquoise color over here because we got it here and here, here. In your reserves, you will have this. Measure over 8 1/8 and cut. Now measure over, let's see, 2 7/8. Let's try that. Let's place this down, and you should be about a 1/16 inch away from your score line there and still have a black border over here. And I think I'm going to place it to where the moon is up here. I'm going to glue this down. Now there's something else that I would like to do that I didn't do on anything really on it when I did the fall festival, but I think I want to do something here. Let's grab this out of reserves and let's see what we have back here. I want actually, I want this one. Let's put this on our paper cutter, cut down and over to release this. Let's see how this would look if we put it right here. We would still be able to use part of that black border back there and still have a tuck. I'm just going to glue mine straight down, even this part, and that's what I'm going to do. So if you would rather have this open and be able to put a photograph maybe right across here, you can do that. For me, I'm just going to put that down, kind of like it. Oh, that looks good too. Well, we're going to have to make a decision, and this is it. Let's take a look. Let's fold this all in, and it looks wonderful. Our folio is complete. Let me just take a quick run through of this. I'm going to get my stuff out of the way here. So when you open it up, we have this large pocket. We have tuck areas. It's time to get a photograph. That fits in nice. That fits in nice. This will tuck right down in here. And I can also shimmy it over to get some of that moon. That looks good. Photograph, pocket, tuck. That all looks really good. Okay, let's move on over here. Photograph works. Pocket, tuck. Oh, that'd be cute to picture mat and frame a photo right here. Pocket, and then the back. Our folio is complete. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I will see you on my next tutorial. And happy crafting, everybody.